Hey, I'm Johnny Warrior. I'm Senior Instructor for Thunderbird Outdoor Adventures, and I want to welcome you to the part 1 of our 6-part basic bushcraft course. We're giving this to you totally free here on YouTube. If you'd like to have a electronic version of the training manual for this section and each section afterwards, what I need you to do is email us at the email at the end of this video, the subscriber name in which you subscribed, and the 5-digit alphanumeric code that you're going to see somewhere along in this video here. That's going to tell us which one we need to send you and that you actually subscribe. That's the requirement. We're just asking you to subscribe to the channel and watch the videos, and this is 100% free. This particular video is going to be concepts. We're going to talk about the rules of 3. We're going to talk about the importance of environmental factors and the importance of hydration and the importance of maintaining food consumption and foraging. So I want to begin first with attitude. All right, before we start hitting the rules of 3, part of that is the attitude that you pertain. If you continually get out into the bush and you practice these principles, you will be better prepared and you'll be able to maintain a certain semblance of composure. Panic is your biggest enemy. The minute you start allowing stress and fear to partake in your mindset, you start making poor decisions, rash decisions, and that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble. Whether you're in a survival or a self-reliance type scenario, it just compounds the issues. So taking a moment to compose yourself, taking a moment to assess your situation and assess the resources around you, allows you to reset your mind a little bit. As you're assessing your situation, assessing the resources around you, there's something called the rule of 3s that we go by. 3 minutes of air, 3 hours of extreme exposure, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Now, these are all principles that are balanced due to the environment. Obviously, if we're in extreme aspects on either edge of that, whether cold or heat, that's going to be have some variables. In extreme heat, your water is not going to, your hydration level is not going to be maintained at the particular level that we're discussing here on the 3 days. It could be, a 24, 48 hour scenario where you're detrimental and dying. Or in exposure, when we're talking about 3 hours of extreme exposure, if you're in extreme cold, that could be reduced down to an hour. So there are variables, but this is just a common rule that we discuss. So taking that into account, one of the first things that we need to be considered of is our cover, right? So when we're talking about 3 hours of extreme exposure, we're talking about our thermal regulation and our cover. Thermal regulation is, the way we counter that is by the way we dress is our first defense. Our health is also a defense, and consuming high caloric foods is another defense. Now, when we talk about the way we clothe, we do something, we'd like to teach something called the layering principles, where you layer thin coats, from a t-shirt to a long sleeve shirt to a light fleece to a parka. That way, as you start to work, you start to shed some of the shells and layers of your thermal warmth, so you don't sweat and get your clothing sweat, because water and that moisture barrier behind is going to decrease your ability to keep a thermal layer against your skin. Keeping your clothes clean is another. Dirty clothes do not efficiently regulate your thermal temperature. So cleaning them on a regular basis, maintaining them on a regular basis is key too. That's something that we don't discuss a lot. We go out to the woods for 2 weeks and think we're going to wear the same pair of pants and the same shirt. No, we need to be able to make sure that the wicking properties of the materials that we're using are capable of doing that. And we do that by allowing or making sure that we maintain cleanliness to the materials that we're use, as well as repair. So if there's a tear, you need to take the time to stitch it up. Water, having potable water. If you're drinking non-potable water and you're getting, diarrhea and vomiting because of the water that you're drinking, all you're doing is compounding your hydration issues. So ensuring that your water hygiene is essential. Potable water is key. That's done through, filtration, etc. Be taught in another part of this section. But it's something that you need to do proper planning on and ensure that you have the equipment, more than one way of purifying, to make sure you have potable water. Food, okay? When we discuss food, we're discussing your caloric intake. Now, if you're out camping and you have some amount of food sources on you, the way you can stretch your food is by knowing the local fauna, flora, and foraging your food along the way. So you eat your high caloric in the morning, and then you through the day eat small multiple meals while you're moving, or while you're hunting, or while you're gathering, or while you're self-rescuing. So knowing your area and what it's capable of producing for you. Sometimes, a lot of people think that they're going to just, if I'm going to bug out, or, if I'm in a self-reliance situation, I'm going to go out and hunt. I don't really care how great white hunter you are. There's only a certain amount of resources available in an area. And you've got many factors that influence that, disease, drought, available resources, and hunting itself. I mean, if you're in a bug out situation and everybody's hunting, those resources are gone. So you're going to rely more on the vegetation available, in fishing, and the hunting. And what hunting you do will be by snare or small game, so squirrel, rabbit, raccoon, stuff like that is predominantly what you're going to consume. It's not going to be a big deer and a big elk. So you're going to need multiple layers of planning relative to your caloric intake and food sources. The first part of that is education and learning what's available in your area. If you're going to a new area, take the time to do a couple hours of research and make sure that you're able to identify edible plant life, usable sources of fungi, etc. That way, you're going to present yourself more opportunity for survivability. When we talk about planning in general, that is kind of key to anything that we're doing. Whether you're using this bushcraft as a hobby, you're using it as a supplementation while you're a hunter or fisherman, or you're using it in a means of level of knowledge for preparedness in the event of an event, you need to be able to recall these skills regularly. So getting out there and getting actual dirt time, I mean, these training classes are going to be key to giving you the concepts, but to learn the concepts, you're going to need to do this repetitively in order to be proficient and master the skill set. Thermal regulation in the construction of your cover, you got to plan for that. So having some parts of the materials on hand when you're packing and making your bags, as well as, when we talk about cutting tools and containers, having these resources available. And not all the time is it the most expensive, but the most available in quality is going to be issued. You don't want to throw in a piece of an aluminum cup as your container when you can easily get a Stanley stainless steel container for about 14 bucks. So when we teach these concepts, we're going to teach them to you the way to do it cheaply, to get you what you need without. I'm the kind of guy, I'm not going to buy a $500 knife because I'm afraid that, if I lay it down in the dark next to the fire, I'm going to lose it. And I'm not going to take anything to the field or out in the bush that's going to make me cry if I lose it. But at the same time, I understand the importance that my life depends on this equipment, and I'm going to get the best quality for the best bang of the buck. So I do a lot of research to ensure that the materials that I do, and I have a strategy behind that. I also believe in the concept of 2 is 1, 1 is none. If cutting tools are key and essential to my survivability plan, I'm going to make sure I'm going to have 2 of those suckers. If I'm putting a heavy dependence on my navigation, I'm going to have 2 sources of navigation. Now, when we talk about bushcraft, we're going to talk about bushcraft as a skill set. You know, you got to be honest with yourselves, determining, are you going to use it as a hobby? Is this something that you're doing to supplement your skills in hunting and fishing? Are you using it as a layered skill set in preparedness in case of an event that occurs that causes you to leave and go off grid? Now, for us, for myself, I travel a lot, so this is more of a lifestyle aspect for me. Here in the States, I'm a little more, a little bit more remote, as well as when I'm traveling abroad, I camp a lot and do a lot of rural camping. Some of the other instructors, one of the instructors is planning on going off grid. Hopefully, this next year or so, he's going to take his family and go totally off grid. So these are skill sets that we plan on or already do have as key assets in our lifestyle. That's something that we've chosen to do, and that's something you might be considering. But if you don't get out there and get the dirt time and keep utilizing these skills, they're perishable. This isn't something that you're going to learn on YouTube and just simply, hey, have the knowledge base. Learn it through these videos and then get out there and apply the skills. The first time that you start using flint and steel, you're going to fail. The first time that you use bow and drill, you're going to fail. But you do it again, and before you know it, you're proficient and you're mastering that skill. Key, master the skills. Come back and refer to these videos constantly, remodify. And the way we teach you is not the only way to do it. It is simply a way. It is simply a way for us to open the door for you so that you can get the information inflow. You're going to see other avenues, once you get the concepts down and you understand the mechanics, because remember, we promised you we're not just telling you the how, we're telling you the why we do things. If you understand the why and you're applying it in that avenue, you're able to use other information from other sources and bring it in and either streamline or perfect that skill more efficiently. And that's what it is. It's growing with it. Back in the day when our forefathers and the pioneers that made this great country were using these skill sets just to survive on a day-to-day basis, they would come across and stumble across a piece of knowledge, and over time they perfected it and passed it along. That's what we're doing here. So again, the way we're delivering it to you is simply a way. When you start growing, this is something I strongly suggest, is when you go out and you start getting your dirt time, you take a journal and you write down the things that you do while you're out there. Using a journal allows you to reflect back on it, on the stuff that worked for you and didn't work for you. When you do equipment reviews, if you might forget something on a certain way to hang your hammock or a certain way to do a tarp, but you learned something when you're out in the field and it worked really well and corrected some of the disadvantages. You want to be able to keep that material. Plus, when you start training other people like family members and friends, this is a resource that you can connect. So keeping a journal is key while we're going through all this. And I strongly suggest you start at this point. As you're doing this coursework, maintain a journal, maintain all your field, a record of your field time, and before you know it, you're gonna look back on it and you're gonna be, very confident in your skill set. So this is going to conclude video 1 of this 6-part video. The next parts of the video series is going to be specific on the 5 C's, which is encompassing our big coursework. Here will be the email address that you need to contact us at. And remember, if you want an e-version of this topic, email your email your subscriber name and give me the 5-digit alphanumeric code that was in this video, and it'll tell us which one to send you. Alright, so this is Johnny Warrior signing out. Till next time.